Hi team, welcome to my session on Coffee with Prabh, and today we're going to discuss about security plus practice questions domain 1, third part. In this video, we're going to cover some cryptography and encryption based questions which creating a lot of trouble for the security plus aspirants. And with this particular video, you get a better visibility about the cryptography topic. My name is Prabh Nair. For more information, you can subscribe to my channel, and more information you can check my LinkedIn profile. So without wasting a time, let's start with the first part. Thank you. Okay, so first coffee shot. As a network security engineer, if you read the word carefully, as a network security engineer, at a global enterprise, you are responsible for ensuring the confidentiality of sensitive data transmitted over the company internal network. Recently, you have been tasked with implementing a symmetric encryption solution to protect the data. Which of the following statement accurately describe symmetric cryptography for securing data transmissions in your network? See, before we're going to discuss about options, I want to first discuss with you what is symmetric cryptography. And if you really want to understand more in detail, there is already a video I made on YouTube. You can type cryptography Prabh, you will get that video. So first of all, let's understand what is cryptography. See, when we're talking cryptography, crypto plus graphy. Crypto basically means secret, and graphy is called as a science of writing data into secret text. Okay. Science of writing data. So science of writing data into secret text is basically called as a cryptography. So that is basically the first part we have. Now coming back to the cryptography. So cryptography is two types, symmetric and asymmetric. In symmetric cryptography, we're talking about here. So we have a system A and we have a system B. Okay. So we have a data here. Now A want to ensure this data only read by B. Definitely during a transit, anyone can read the data. So he basically use one key one to encrypt the data and convert into the text which no one can able to understand. And they basically send encrypted data over the network. When B receive the encrypted data, he need a same key. So he will send the key over the network. That's the biggest concern. So he send the key one and he basically apply the same key by which he decrypt the data. So we are using a same key. Okay. We are using a same key to encrypt the data and decrypt the data. So question saying that symmetric encryption solution protect this data. So option is symmetric cryptography use the same key for both encryption decryption, which makes sense. And that is the reason the biggest advantage of symmetric cryptography is faster, because it use same key to encrypt and same key to decrypt. Symmetric cryptography required exchange of private key, which is not, because symmetric key only have a one key. It is used in asymmetric. Third, symmetric cryptography provides stronger encryption than asymmetric, which is not true. Actually, asymmetric offer the stronger encryption because of the key size. It can go up to 2048 bit. And ransomwares, hackers, they basically use their 2048 bit keys to encrypt the data. And option D, symmetric cryptography is ideal for encrypting large amount of data. It is not true. You can use for the multiple factor. So in this case, question talking about symmetric encryption, the only close option we have is answer is A for alpha. Exactly. A for alpha. Is it clear? So let's move to the next question. Thank you. Another interesting question. You are tasked with securing email communication between employees in your organization. Okay. So that is the statement we have. Give me a second. Which of the following best describe the advantage of using asymmetric cryptography for this purpose? Before we discuss the answers, let's first understand what is asymmetric cryptography. See, with symmetric cryptography, the concern is key exchange. Just imagine 10 years back when you apply for a credit card, how they deliver that. They send the credit card along with that PIN in the same envelope, right? So if someone get access to the envelope, he can have access of card also, and he get access to the envelope also, right? So this is the same challenge we have in the symmetric cryptography. In symmetric cryptography, you're sending an encrypted data and sending a key on the same network. So only countermeasure in the symmetric cryptography is that we have to send the key by OOB. OOB, out of band, like sending a key by SMS or call that person and dictate the key. One of the most secure form of sending a key is physically hand over the key, which is not possible in the internet industry. That is why today we use a asymmetric with symmetric, but here we're talking about as an individual asymmetric cryptography. So in asymmetric cryptography, what happens is we have a system A, and here we have a system B. Okay, so we have a data here. So let me give me a second. Okay, so here we have a data. This is my data. Now in asymmetric, we have a two type of keys. We call it as a public key and we have a private key. Okay, so here has a dedicated key pair, public key A, private key A. B also have a key pair, public key B and private key B. Always remember, whenever the word say public, it means published, which is available to everyone. Private mean keep secret. So you can say like public is just like a lock and private is a key to unlock the lock. So here the A, if they encrypt the data with their private key, then he need to send his public key over the network. So both keys are exposed. Again back to zero, the challenge what we see in symmetric. So in this case, what happen is, what we do is, give me a second. A first request his public key. B public key. B sent his public key. A basically apply public key of B to encrypt the data. And then A sent the encrypted data to B. Now when B received the encrypted data, I want to make sure B only should able to decrypt. So he uses his private key by which he decrypt the data. Because the key was encrypted by his public key, okay, it was only decrypt by his private key. So by this way confidentiality maintained. But one primary concern with asymmetric cryptography is that it basically make the process slow. Today when you open youtube.com or when you open gmail.com, whatever, right, this is actually happening on the symmetric only. So here we use the combination of both. So biggest advantage of symmetric, it is fast because it use same key to encrypt and decrypt the data. But in the case of asymmetric, the biggest concern is basically asymmetric, it's slow. Because it use one portion of a key to encrypt, one portion of a key to decrypt. That's why today we use hybrid cryptography. We use both cryptography together. We use symmetric also and we use asymmetric also. And this is the example of SSL. This concept is called as a hybrid, which is used in the internet. So what has happened here is we have a system A and we have a system B. So we have a system A and we have a system B. So now what happened, this is my data. Okay, this data will be encrypted. Give me a second. This data will be encrypted by the symmetric key only. Here the symmetric key is also called as a session key. Session key. So symmetric key used to encrypt the data. And now A sent the encrypted data to B. A sent encrypted data to B. Now you tell me in the comment box, if B received the encrypted data, which key is required? Definitely same key, because same key was used to encrypt, but we cannot send the same key. So what happened is B sent his public key. Send public key. Now A will basically use the B public key to encrypt the symmetric key. because by end of the day, symmetric key is just a text file. So they use a public key of B to encrypt the symmetric key. And then A basically send the encrypted session key to B. Now what B did, B basically received the encrypted session key. He basically used his private key to decrypt the session key, and then he got the session key, and then the session key used to decrypt the data. So here they use symmetric key or session key to encrypt the data. And to exchange the session key, they use the receiver public key to encrypt the data. Is it clear? And receiver private key to decrypt the session key. So that is why it is called hybrid. And this is the example of SSL TLS. Now question, let's discuss back to the question. So we have 4 options. Asymmetric cryptography use the same key for both encryption and decryption, which is not true. If you go by the logic, which is not true, right? Because symmetric use same key, asymmetric use one key to encrypt, one key to decrypt. And if you see the option B, asymmetric cryptography is faster than symmetric cryptography for large data set, which is not true. Asymmetric, primary disadvantage of asymmetric, it is slow because it uses one portion of a key to encrypt, one portion of a key to decrypt. Option C, asymmetric cryptography allows secure key exchange without pre-shared key. Definitely, to share the key, they use asymmetric symmetric process, and if they want to exchange, they send their public key only. And if you see the option D, asymmetric cryptography does not require key management. Asymmetric cryptography required key management, no doubt in that. So the biggest challenge in symmetric cryptography is a key management, because for every user we have a key. Asymmetric address the key management because for every user we have a key pair. So in this case, the answer is basically C for Charlie. Okay, so let's move to the next question. Thank you. In the context of digital signature, which of the following statement correctly describe the usage of public and private key? So first, let's understand the concept of digital signature. So when we're talking about digital signature, why it's basically introduced. So we have a system B, here we have a system C, and here we have a system A. If we go by the asymmetric process, suppose C basically has a public key of its own, B also have its own public key, and A also have its own public key. Also they have a private key. Now C want to send the data, so the C need to have a public key of A. B also need to have a public key of A. So here we have a data. The data is encrypted with the public key of A and send it to the A. B also encrypt the data with the public key of A and send it to the A. So A received 2 data, data 1 and data 2, right? They can use their respective private key by which they decrypt this data. But the question is basically who sent which data. So we need to track the accountability. And that is the reason we introduce the concept of digital signature. So what is digital signature now? So we have a system A, and here we have a system B. Now just imagining both are sending a data to C, hypothetical scenario. So here we have a data. We basically first create a hash value of the data. So right now time is 3:50 AM. So at 3:50 AM we create a hash value, this data, and this data I want to send in the same state. I want to give an evidence this is the same state data with me. So I generate a hash value. And this hash value I will encrypt with my private key. And that basically creates a signal. I'm not encrypting a data, I'm encrypting a hash value. And that will be append in the data. Now when B sending this value to C, when C receive the data, C already having a public key of B. So here what happened, I basically use a digital signature. I use his public key to decrypt this value and check the hash of this. If both are same, we verify the integrity. It's already decrypted by the public key of B. It means the data came from B. So by this we achieve 2 things. One is authenticity. The data came from B because no one shared their private key. And second is integrity. And because of that, now B cannot deny for his action. Okay, so this is basically called as a digital signature. So option A, sender sign the document with their public key and recipient verify the signature with the sender private key, which is not true, because sender, if it signed the document with their public key, he has to share his private key. Option B, sender sign the document with a recipient private key and recipient verify the signature with their own public key. That's not possible. Option C, sender sign the document with the recipient public key and recipient verify the signature with the sender private key. See, if you see, sender sign the document with their recipient public key. Okay, so recipient verify the signature with the sender. No one share the private key, which always makes sense is D. Sender sign the document with their private key. I am signing with my private key, and you as a recipient verify with my public key. So that is how it works. So let's move to the next question. And one more important thing before I discuss about the next question. Digital signature offer two important properties, authenticity and non-repudiation. Because of the signature, the sender cannot deny that he has not sent the data, and signature is basically achieved by hashing and asymmetric cryptography. Let's move to the next question. Thank you. Okay, so we are moving to the next coffee shot. What term describes the trusted third-party entity that issued digital certificate to validate the ownership of the public key? So before we discuss the options, I want to explain you what is the certificate and why this concept came in this section. See, when we're talking about encryption metrics and all that, we have some challenges when we're dealing with the public key, private key, symmetric, asymmetric and all that, which is all about the key authenticity. So let's say example, we have a system A and we have a system B. Now data is basically encrypted. Hypothetical scenario, data is encrypted with the help of session key, and we send this encrypted data to B. Now B basically received the encrypted data. Okay, B received the encrypted. Now B want to decrypt, so definitely he need a session key. To get the session key, he will send his public key. So when he's sending his public key, so there is an attacker who will basically intercept this information and hijack the information. So now he hold the session and attacker basically send his public key. So there is no way to verify if it's coming from a source and all that. So A assume whatever the public key we're receiving, it is coming from a respective source. So they use a public key. It was a B, but it is not a B. It's basically a attacker public key. Okay, it is basically a attacker public key. So this is the attacker public key. So he used the attacker public key to encrypt the session key. And A basically sent the encrypted session key to B. Attacker basically intercept this also. So he got the encrypted session key. And then he basically apply his private key to decrypt the session key. So which is basically a concern actually. So to overcome that, that's why we introduce the concept of certificate authority. So what is basically certificate authority? So let me explain you that. So here what happened, we have a CA, which is called as a certificate authority server. Here we have a system A and here we have a system B. Now B basically sent his certificate. Sorry, he sent his public key to B and to CA. Hey CA, please find my public key and please validate this public key. So the public key is basically add in the certificate. We basically generate the hash of the certificate, and the hash is basically encrypt with the CA private key because for achieving authenticity, and they attach the signature to that and they issue back the certificate to B. Like this certificate generated by me at 5:40 AM and this signature is basically hash by my private key, so no one can able to create that. So this gives the authenticity. Now A basically generate the session key used to encrypt the data and we send the encrypted data to B. Now definitely instead of B is sending a public key. B basically send a certificate. So A receive a certificate. First, they have a certificate number. So A basically maintain the database, okay, of the valid certificate. So he maintain a certificate called as CRL, certificate revocation list. So first they will check, is this certificate in the list or not? If it's not, it means certificate is valid. Then they basically decrypt that with the public key of CA. Public key of CA. So we basically maintain the public key of the trusted CA. If you're able to decrypt successfully, it means it came from a trusted CA, and then I can trust the certificate, and from that I can extract the public key of B, and then I will use a further process to encrypt the session key. Now here what happened is there's a two way to check the certificate status. One is called CRL and one is called as a OCSP, Online Certificate Status Protocol. So when B is sending a certificate to A check the certificate from his offline list. But it is not necessary always it is accurate, it is updated. So on regular basis, we have to download the updated certificate revocation list from CA. But in the OCSP, and it is just like, you're driving a car, you're driving a bike, and suddenly police has stopped you and asked for the driving license number. So when you give your driving license, they will call the traffic team and they will dictate the number and manually they verify, which is a time consuming task. But now when B is sending a certificate to A immediately checks certificate online from CA, and this process is called as a OCSP. So whenever question talking about real-time certificate validation faster, the answer is basically OCSP. So we have a two way to check the certificate status. One is basically called as a CRL, which is an offline process, and second is basically called as a OCSP. Now as the traffic is basically increased, it is difficult for the CA to manage all the verification, and that is why they basically appoint the RA, Registration Authority. So let's understand the example from a CompTIA or IC2. If you're going for CC exam for IC2, it's not something, okay, you directly go to IC2 office. There's a Pearson VUE office we have. So Pearson VUE where you write the exam. Pearson VUE collect the information, verify the information. So RA is just like a Pearson VUE. He allow you to write the exam, but IC2 is called as a CA. CompTIA is basically CA. Here they are the one who finally issue the certificate. So whenever we request for certificate, user basically send the request to RA. RA basically verify the information, validate the information, check the information. And after that, they forward the information to CA. And it is a CA who finally issue the certificate. So CA was finally issued the certificate and he has a capability to revoke the certificate. RA was introduced to only offload the work of CA. Now in this stage, the question talking about what term describe the trusted third party entity that issued digital certificate to validate the ownership of public key. Option A, signature authority. There is nothing called digital signature authority. Certificate authority is the one who issue the certificate. Public key distributor, there is nothing called public key distributor. And key management server is a very common server which is used to manage the keys in SSO, Kerberos and all that. So in this case, if you go by the logic, answer is basically B for beta. Let's move to the next question. Thank you. Okay. In a large e-commerce platform, ensuring the validity of SSL TLS certificate for secure customer transaction is critical. Which method provide the more efficient real-time verification of certificate status? If you notice, this is just a story. Actual questions start from here. So you can expect same kind of a thing in CompTIA. Now option A, using a CRL to check the revocation status certificate, but CRL is an offline process. And if it's not updated, they download the certificate on a regular basis. Option B, implement the OCSP to verify the revocation status of certificate in real time, which is true. Option C, rely on the periodic manuals check for certificate against the central database. No, it can be done by two way, by CRL and OCSP, but it is always have a latency issue. And option D is using a self-signed certificate to bypass the need for revocation check. This is a threat for the company. Otherwise, anyone can create a self-signed certificate and pass the data. So question talking about verification certification status, that's the reason answer is B for beta. Exactly, B for beta. So let's move to the next coffee shot. Thank you. Okay, so next coffee shot. You are a security consultant tasked with enhancing the data security of company laptop, which are more often taken out of the office by the employee. The company want to ensure that if laptop is lost or stolen, the data on it remain inaccessible to unauthorized user. Which encryption method would you recommend to automatically encrypt all the data on this laptop, including operating systems and system files, prevent unauthorized access to any data on the hard drive? So if you see the question carefully, so we're talking about the 4 options here. Option A, end-to-end encryption. End-to-end encryption is basically used in a data in transit, where you encrypt in one end, remain encrypted throughout the journey, and decrypt at the another end. So it's more used from the data in transit. So we have 3 states of data. Let me explain you that. So we have a data at rest, we have a data in transit, and we have a data in use. So this A is more about data in transit. Option B, file level encryption. File level encryption, encrypting a particular file. So let's say example, this is my disk. In that we have a partition. In the partition, we basically have a file. We're encrypting a particular file. That is called file level encryption. But that doesn't give any security. Full disk encryption is basically mean you're encrypting the entire disk, which including a OS and everything, which is achieved with the help of BitLocker and all that. And transport layer security is morely used from a data in transit. So as you're looking for automatically encrypt all the data, so without any doubt, I will go with the answer full disk encryption, because it encrypts the entire disk. And in this case, even you take out the disk and you're connecting a disk with another system, it will not load the boot process until unless you don't know the key. So today with the effective security of TPM, we also achieve the full disk encryption. So let's move to the next coffee shop. Now wait. We have a coffee, but definitely with the snacks, it make the things great. So let's have some snacks. So this is the summary, okay? If the question talking about encrypting the entire disk drive, not a volume, but disk drive. So this is called as a full disk encryption, which is commonly used in a personal computer, laptops, idle for the device that may lost or stolen. File level encrypting a particular files, individual files, used to specific encryptions of data and documents. So we are using this particular condition where I don't want to encrypt all the files. I want to encrypt a particular files, and I want to keep rest of the file as plain text. Volume is basically encrypting a particular volume, like a partition and all that, which is focused on a specific partition. So if you see the hierarchy, this is the entire disk, and there we're creating a partition, volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. And then in the volume we have a file. So file is file level, volume is volume level, and entire disk is disk level. Transparent data encryption used in a database. You're encrypting a database, files and all that. So as a user, you can log in, you can see the database, but in the back end, no one can able to read the files. So it is used to encrypt the database system, to encrypt the database without affecting the application. Column level encrypting a particular columns within the database, which is used to protect the individual piece of data. And if you want to, within the column, you want to encrypt a particular row, where you individually encrypting a row or records within database, we basically use a record level encryption, which offer the more granular option. So let's move to the next question, and based on that, we'll discuss the pointer. A freelance journalist works on sensitive document that need to be kept secure, but also need to share their laptop with a family member. So multi-tenant. The journalist want to ensure the specific sensitive files are encrypted. Keyword is specific sensitive file are encrypted and access without restricting access to the entire system. Makes sense? What encryption technique should the journalist use to secure a specific file while allowing the unencrypted and encrypted file to coexist in the same drive? File level, we can go for file level because we're talking about specific file. If you go for full disk encryption, it will encrypt the entire disk. Question 3 is transport layer security. It is more from data in transit. Volume, we are not talking about specific volume because we're talking about only particular file. That's the reason answer is A for alpha. Let's move to the next question. Software development company need to secure its project data. The project involves several large database. The keyword is database and files that need to be encryption. But company doesn't want to encrypt the operating systems of the machine where this data is reside. Which encryption is basically more suitable to encrypting a large volume of the projected data without encrypting the entire disk? So definitely disk level encryption is gone. So option A, file level, cannot meet the requirement because they want to encrypt the large amount of data. Full disk is opposite. Transport layer is basically used for data in transit. The only option is if you're encrypting a particular volume that can save this task. And that is the reason Answer is basically volume level encryption, because in a volume level, we can encrypt the entire volume which has all the data. Let's move to the next coffee shot. Thank you. Online retainer is looking to secure its customer database. The keyword is customer database to comply with the new data protection regulation. Fine. The database contains the sensitive information, including a payment details, personal data. The retailer need an encryption solution that secure the database at rest without impacting database performance. Which encryption method should the retailer implement to encrypt the entire database and meet the compliance? Option A, column level. Column level encrypting a particular column within a database, but here the question talking about encrypt the entire database. File level encryption, encrypting a file. Volume will encrypt the entire volume, but here we're talking about encrypting a particular database. That is the reason answer is C for Charlie, transparent database encryption, TDE. Let's move to the next question. Thank you. The question is, a financial institution want to add extra layer of security to its customer database. The database stores sensitive information like social security number and account details. That is the scope. The institution seek to encrypt this specific sensitive information without encrypting the entire database. Without. What type of encryption should the institution use to secure a specific columns within the customer tables? Option A, column level makes sense because we're encrypting a particular column. File level is used for the non-database, like we're keeping some files, we need to encrypt that file. Database, transparent data encryption, it basically encrypt the entire database, which is used for data in use stage. And volume level encrypting the entire volume. But here, we don't want to encrypt the entire database, we want to encrypt a particular column. And that is the reason answer is basically column level encryption. Last question. A research organization maintain a database containing a personal information about study participant. Due to sensitive nature of some duties, the organization decide to implement additional security measure to protect individual records within the database beyond the standard encryption practice. Which form of encryption provide most granular level of security by allowing a specific record within the database to be encrypted? Option A, column level, but column encrypting entire column. File encrypting a particular file. As the question talking about database, transparent data encryption work in the backend, which encrypting the entire database. The only thing option left is record level encryption, where we're encrypting a particular record. Do let me know how do you find this particular video. Do share your suggestion in the comment box, because without you I'm nothing. And based on this feedback, I will decide shall I go for the security plus domain 2 videos and how this videos impacting your values, and is it useful, which is helping you to clear the exam. Please share your suggestion in the comment box. And I can still see that you guys have not subscribed to the channel. If you think the content is worth it and freely you get all these things, do share your suggestions and do subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss my future videos on a similar topic. Good day. Bye.